What's going on, guys? Alex here with 814 ADC, and today I'm ready to do my full review on the Karbon Knives Buckhorn. Now, this is in, of course, via the Lefty passaround group, and it is part of the Karbon package. So you have the Buckhorn here, then you have the Smoke Show. I will be doing my full review on this knife for tomorrow, so keep a lookout for that if you guys are interested. This is the Buckhorn. This is the budget version that they came out with after the pretty successful launch of the premium version. I believe it won a few awards at Blade Show in 2024, or SHOT Show, or one of the knife shows. I know it was a big award winner, and it was a very, very popular knife, and they decided to come out with a budget version to be more accessible to the masses, which I can always appreciate. And yeah, this is a big knife, a little bit bigger than my, preferences go. I think it's like almost a 3 3/4 inch blade. So pretty big for me, but this is a very well done knife. Karbon has really impressed me with both the Buckhorn and the Smoke Show. Very, very impressed. Thin finish is awesome. Action is great. Ergos are great. So yeah, we're going to dive right into the review without further ado with materials and some specs. And you guys know all the things I like to do here on the 814 ADC YouTube channel. I am going to leave a link to Knife Center down below. It's where I can find them in stock. When you go to Karbon's website, you can't buy them on there for some reason. So I found that Knife Center has both this and the Smoke Show in stock. So I will leave links to down in the description below if you guys are interested in checking them out. So yes, we have the Buckhorn. This is designed by Ken Onion, and I believe he has a helping hand in Karbon, or is the guy behind Karbon as his own knife brand, because he has done OEM designs for a lot of other companies. Specifically CRKT is one I've always heard of, but Buckhorn right there on the pivot collar reminds me of like a shell casing, which is pretty cool. You have a flipper tab. You have dual thumb studs in the same color as the kind of burnt bronze and the pivot. You have a loop over style deep carry pocket clip that I believe is righty only. It's a very thin, kind of pokey clip. You get a sheep's footy style blade, very long, cylindrical. You get a choil right there as well. I believe the thumb studs also act as a stop pin, which is pretty cool. You get Karbon here on the back spacer. And then Ken Onion is up there on the back of the back spacer. If my phone will focus, you guys can see it kind of right in there. Inset liner lock. These scales are aluminum. You guys can see that they are contoured and have a little bit of, or a lot of bit of milling, but a little bit of curvature going on there, which feels really nice in hand. Kind of gets fat in the middle there. And then the blade the blade steel is 14C28N, which I don't believe they show on here. Yes, they do. I apologize for that. Right there on the choil. So some quick specs on this. You have a blade length of, 3.75 inches, so that's pretty spot on there. You get a cutting edge of 3.63. You get a close length or handle length of 4.88. An overall length from tip to butt of 8.63. So pretty big knife in my opinion, specifically for me. It's 14C28N in the PVD coating. Comes in weighing 4.45 ounces. But honestly, for being a bigger knife, it really doesn't feel that big or that heavy. It feels pretty lightweight, honestly, for being, a very big bladed knife and having, full liners with, the kind of the fatter scales. I would not say that, it feels heavy by any stretch of the imagination. Like I said, this is the budget version. The premium version is, I believe, an S35VN and titanium. And I believe it's like $300-ish. So you're getting about, half the price, which we'll talk about that later, for the, budget Buckhorn. But as far as materials are going, you guys know I love aluminum. I love 14C. Multiple ways of deploying the knife. Inset liner lock, great action. Well, we'll talk about action in a second. Milled clip, pretty good set of materials. So we're going to go 5 out of 5 on that. Next up is going to be aesthetic. I'm a fan of how this knife looks. It's a little bit bigger. I would love to see a model or a version done in like 3 1/4 inch blade, knocked down about 0.5 inches off the blade length. But I do think it looks good. I love the way this, for some reason, this blade reminds me of like a whale, like a humpback whale or something. but it looks really good. It has nice lines to it. The overall handle shape is great. Like I said, I love the pivot collar that reminds me of a bullet or shell casing. Like the milling, you know, it's different on a couple different aspects of it. Just looks good, looks clean, has nice simple lines. So we're gonna go 5 out of 5 on that one as well. Excuse me. Next up is Action. The D10 is, I wouldn't say heavy, but it's not light. I would say it's medium. It's very much adequate. The flipper tab you get is pretty minimalistic. It's really not, you know, protruding too much there. It's not going to be too much of a pocket pecker, as I like to say. You kind of just build right here, flies right out. I definitely like the push button method more than the light switch. The light switch works, it really does, and that's me saying that as a non-light switch user. It definitely works, but you guys know I love just being a push button guy, landing right on it, just building pressure, and it flies right out. Now with the thumb studs, you guys can see you get some nice jimping there on both sides. They are kind of tucked close to the scale, but once you get, you know, the knife in hand and you get used to how the knife operates, it really is not, you know, an issue whatsoever. They're very nicely shaped. They're ramped ever so slightly, so you get the rampedness right there with the milling, which feels really good. As far as thumb flicks go, works great. As far as reverse flicks go, also works great. You just, you know, like I say with a lot of different reviews, with different knives, you have to just get used to how they operate, you know, how your hand placement is going to be on the knife. And, you know, the more you have the knife in and the more you utilize the knife, the more you fidget with the knife, the more you know, handle the knife, you get used to that. So really, it's not a big deal whatsoever. And I think the Action is quite good on this. Now, the one small complaint I have, but it's really not that much, I would have loved to have a little bit more milling or a little bit more lock bar relief cut in there. It works fine. You just kind of have to dig your thumb up in there. But again, that's something you get used to. I would have loved just to have maybe a smidge more taken off there. But at the end of the day, you guys can see a smidge in a blade play, but you really have to be torquing on it to get it to move like that. You get very buttery, smooth action. Whoops. Great close. Drops to your thumb. Basically just turn the knife, little bit of shakeage and it's closed. It's really nice to fidget with. I really like the flipper tab, the way it's done, the way it's shaped, and the thumb studs work pretty well as well. So with that being said, 5 out of 5. I really do, you know, enjoy the Action on this one. I don't think the, you know, little bit of tightness there in the lock bar is going to be enough for me to take points away. That's a very small nitpick because it does function very well. It's just personal preference for me to have a little bit more access there, but it doesn't, you know, hinder the action or the enjoyance of it whatsoever. So we're going to go 5 out of 5 with the Action. Next up is Acoustics. Meh. You know, for it being pretty heavily milled on the inside. Now I know it's aluminum and not titanium, but it's not bad. But honestly, I think I'm going to give this a 3.5, 3.5. It's good. I mean, it's okay. It's not good. It's standard, I would say. You know, you guys know 3.5 is kind of my bare minimum threshold for okay expected acoustics. A 4 is pretty good, 4.5 is very good, and 5, of course, is perfect. I just expected a little bit more from this, but honestly, not the end of the world. You guys know Acoustics is probably, out of materials, aesthetic, action, acoustics, ergos, carry, price point and value, that is the category that you could take out, and it is just very, very opinion based, and it really doesn't mean much to the knife itself. That's just something I like to add because, you know, there are a lot of you guys out there that enjoy the acoustics in a knife, and I'm just trying to be honest with my, you know, opinions on it. But we're going to go 3.5 and move on to ergos. Now, this is obviously a big knife. The handle in general is about 5 inches, so I get plenty of area to land up here. I can kind of go space out and have plenty of room. I can get nice and tight in here and have a ton of room. You guys can see I can basically put another pinky on there if I had it. A little bit of jimping right there on the top of the blade, which is perfect for where my thumb lands. Very, very comfortable. The aluminum, like I said earlier in the video, has a little bit of contouring to it, which is great. I love the milling, also great. The paw clip is a pretty thin clip. It is a little bit pokey up top here, but it's so flat and, you know, thin. It just sits right in my knuckle crevice very, very nicely. Can't feel whatsoever. Of course, you have this choil right here. Not the biggest choil in the world. If it was any bit smaller, I don't think I'd be able to utilize it that well because, you know, my fingers and my hands are decent sized. But as far as it goes right now, I can use it pretty well. My thumb either lands right here on the jimping, lands out here even farther for push cuts. It's a very usable blade shape. Has a nice tip you can drop down and cut through Amazon packages, boxes, tape, letters, anything like that. Feels really good in the hand. It really does. I like, you know, some knives, they don't do it well, and it affects the ergos negatively, but I really like this one, how the, you know, the middle kind of gets fat, which kind of swells into your hand. It just really makes it for a pleasant experience. Saber grip, hammer grip, you can switch it around. Well, you could use it in this way because you do have a nice little thumb landing here on the lanyard post if you had to utilize it in a self-defense manner. But overall, very, very comfortable on a lot of different facets of the ergo department. So we're going to go 5 out of 5. No complaints whatsoever. Next up is carry. Now this is a milled clip, but honestly it goes, you guys can see it goes pretty deep into the knife or into the pocket. You only have about that much showing, which is awesome. I love it. You know, the clip is a little bit tight, but you have a good amount of clearance in there once you get into your pocket of your pants. So not too big of a deal, but it is a little bit bigger. So you do have to be aware of that. The flipper tab down here is pretty, again, minimalistic, pretty, you know, unobtrusive, like I said earlier. The jimping on there is not going to be tearing up your finger or anything like that. So, you know, while it is in your pocket, you can go down past it pretty easily if you're getting change, chapstick, things that might be floating underneath the knife. But there is, you know, the very small instance that this might catch on your hand and then it might come up out of your pocket. But I've never had that issue. It's just something I like to make you guys aware of. But, you know, for being a pretty big knife, for being about 4.5 ounces, it carries pretty solid. You know, not the best carry in the world, but for what it is, I think it's fine. I think it's pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's the most perfect carry, so I'm not going to give it a, not going to, oh, whoops. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops, messed up there. I gave the ergos a 4 instead of a 5. But I'm going to give the carry a 4 instead of a 5, just because, you know, for what it is, it's decent. It's good enough for the knife, but it's not blowing me away. It's not like amazing to carry. Like I said, the clip is a little bit tense down here, so you kind of have to like pick at it. But it gets the job done, and at the end of the day, that's really what matters. So carry is going to be getting a 5. And that leads me to my final category of price point / value / what I recommend this knife. So the price point on the Karbon Knives Buckhorn from Knife Center is coming in at $154.99. So 155 bucks. I think that's a pretty fair price. You know, you're really starting to see a lot of models, you know, specifically from like Kubi and some other OEMs, Bridgepoint Knife Company, dabbling in the 14C and titanium range. And you can get that for, you know, I'd say $125 to $150 all day, every day, and twice on Mondays. So I'm not going to go out and say that this is a fantastic value because you're getting aluminum as opposed to titanium, but I still think it's a fair enough value. I wouldn't, you know, I really don't have too much of a qualm with that price because you're getting a lot of knife, you're getting a great action, you're getting, you know, fantastic ergos, you're getting a decent carry. And if you're liking the overall aesthetic of this knife, then, and you don't need titanium, you don't need S35 yen, then I would absolutely pick up one of these as opposed to the premium version. I enjoyed it, I really did. I think it's a fair value. I don't think it's the best value on the board because, like I said, you can get 14C and titanium for cheaper. but I can be okay with the price. Any higher than that, and I would have kind of an issue with it. But I do think it could maybe be $10 to $15 cheaper, and it would be right on par with a lot of other knives out there. So as far as value goes, as far as price point, we'll go 4 as well. Not the biggest value in the world, but it's, again, for the 16th time that I've said it, it's fair, it's okay. But I can recommend it to you guys, absolutely. I think it's a great knife. I think it's good in a lot of different accents or facets of the knife game. And like I said, if you guys are a fan of how this knife looks and you're a fan of bigger knives, then I think that this could be a worthwhile add to your collection. But yeah, let me count this up real quick and see what we got for score-wise. Make sure I have all these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have the Karbon Knives Buckhorn coming in with a score, of 31.5, which lands it in the great category. I think that's fair. It's where I was kind of expecting it to land. Now the Smoke Show, on the other hand, will be just in. I really enjoyed. I like this knife. I love this knife. We'll leave it at that. So be on the lookout for the Smoke Show full review. But yeah, 31.5, great category. I think that's fair. I really was kind of expecting it to fall in that 32-ish to 33 range. It falls right below that at 31.5. But I think it's fair. And like I said, I do enjoy the knife. Just not something that I'm going to go out of my way to go, pick up right away for my collection, or I'm not going to really miss this too much, like I am going to miss the Smoke Show. But yeah, 31.5, great knife. But yeah, so I'm going to wrap this up now. But this was my full review on the Karbon Knives Buckhorn. Huge shout out to Kev over at Lefty EDC for allowing us to check out stuff like this all the time. Much love to you, Kev, and much love to you guys. But before I go, leave a comment down below. Did any of you guys pick up the Buckhorn? Do any of you guys have the premium version, the budget version? Let me know your guys' thoughts. As always, I love to hear what you guys have to say. But I'm going to wrap this up now. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you guys. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your morning, evening, day, night, whenever you're watching this. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.